Let me ask you a simple question. Why is it that, no matter how bad the economy gets, some families always seem to land on their feet? I mean, the stock market crashes, prices go wild, jobs disappear, and somehow some people not only survive, they thrive. Now, I'm not saying they have a magic wand. They don't. But what if I told you there is a secret, not a hack, not a trick, a way of seeing the world that's been passed down for thousands of years? It's a Jewish secret. And no, I don't mean some Illuminati conspiracy with secret handshakes in a hidden vault under Jerusalem. I mean an actual mindset taught from generation to generation that's helped Jewish families avoid ruin even when everything around them was collapsing. So today, I'm going to share that with you, from one friend to another. And who knows, maybe it'll change the way you think about money forever. Let's start with something nobody likes to admit. Money is emotional. We treat it like it's just math. Income minus expenses equals wealth, right? But come on, if that were true, half the financial system wouldn't exist. You don't need therapy because your calculator's broken. You need it because your emotions are. And here's the first part of the Jewish secret. Money is never just money. In Jewish tradition, wealth is not simply about stacking coins like Scrooge McDuck. It's about meaning, purpose, connection, responsibility. Let me give you a picture. Imagine two people go through the exact same crisis. They lose their jobs. One panics, spirals, blames everyone, and starts making desperate choices. The other calmly adjusts, leans on their community, and starts a side hustle baking challah in their kitchen. What's the difference? Mindset. One was raised to believe money is security. The other, that money is a tool. You see, in Jewish culture, wealth is not the end goal. It's a means to serve, to build, to preserve dignity. And when you see money that way, crises don't scare you as much, because even if you lose money, you haven't lost your identity. That's why, for centuries, Jews were forced to reinvent themselves economically. We weren't always allowed to own land, or have certain jobs, or live in certain places. So, what did we do? We adapted. We learned skills, portable ones, things you could take with you wherever you went, like trade, finance, education, law, writing, business. In a way, being forced to move over and over again taught us one core principle: never depend on just one thing, especially not one income. This is huge. If there's one thing that can crash your entire financial life, it's being tied to a single source of income, as if your employer is your personal messiah. Spoiler, he's not. Jewish families have long understood the importance of diversification, not just in investing. In life, the tailor also taught sewing. The grocer let money on the side. The rabbi wrote books. You get the point. This isn't about chasing 10 side hustles with no sleep and 5 energy drinks. It's about building resilience. When you have multiple ways to bring in value, you can adapt to almost anything. And value is the real currency. Now, let's talk about crisis. Because if you've ever opened your fridge and only found mustard in a single sad tomato, you know that crisis isn't just theoretical. The Jewish people have gone through a lot. Famines, exiles, pogroms, wars, Holocaust. And yet, somehow, we're still here. Not just surviving, but often thriving. Why? Because we were taught something most schools never tell you: prepare before the crisis comes. Let me give you a proverb from the Talmud. Who is wise? One who sees the consequences. This doesn't mean living in fear. It means living awake. If you see inflation rising, you don't wait until bread costs $10 a loaf. You start baking. Jewish families traditionally are taught to save during times of plenty, not as hoarding, but as planting. You don't eat all your seeds just because the harvest was good. You think seasons. And one of the most overlooked, counterintuitive financial tools that Jewish tradition teaches is this: give money away. On purpose. Regularly. Even when it's tight. Sounds crazy, right? But it's one of the most powerful principles we have. It's called Tzedakah, often translated as charity, but that's not quite right. It actually means justice, doing what's right with your money. See, in Jewish tradition, wealth isn't fully yours. You're a steward, a manager. You get to enjoy it, but part of it belongs to those in need. So, even in times of hardship, Jews are taught to give. It might be a small coin, a bag of groceries, a job lead, but always something. Why? Because giving rewires your brain out of scarcity. It tells your soul, I'm not a victim. I still have value. I still have something to offer. And here's the wild part: people who give regularly are statistically more financially stable. Not because of magic, but because generosity builds networks. Think about it. If you help 10 people over the years, and one of them helps you back during your darkest hour, was it worth it? Of course. That's not just generosity. That's strategy with a soul. In Jewish neighborhoods, you'll often find something called a Gemach, a free loan society. Need a baby stroller? A wedding dress? Interest-free loan to fix your roof. There's a Gemach for that. Why? Because we don't wait for government bailouts. We build our own safety nets. From the ground up. Through trust. And that trust starts with Tzedakah. Giving not because you're rich but because you're rooted. Now, let's talk about something a little uncomfortable: debt. Now, not all debt is evil. But here's a good rule of thumb. If the thing you're borrowing for won't grow in value, you're probably digging a hole, not planting a seed. Jewish teaching traditionally views debt with caution. Very strong caution. Why? Because debt is not just a financial condition. It's a psychological prison. When you owe someone, you lose a little bit of your freedom. And freedom, sharet in Hebrew, is one of the holiest things in Jewish life. Remember, our entire story starts with slavery in Egypt. So yeah, we take freedom very seriously. So while many people chase a lifestyle today and pay for it tomorrow, Jewish wisdom often says, reverse it. Live humbly today. Earn your lifestyle. And when you do upgrade, do it from abundance, not anxiety. Now, don't get me wrong. Jews also believe in enjoying life. We bless wine. We throw weddings that last days. We eat way too much brisket. But we don't fake abundance. That's the difference. There's a blessing we say after eating. Birkat Hamazon. It means thank you for the food, not thank you for the credit limit. Gratitude before growth. That's the order? Let me tell you about my Uncle Moishi. During the 2008 crash, when people were losing jobs left and right, he didn't panic. No, what he did? He went into his garage and started fixing radios. Old ones. Like the ones with knobs. He sold the parts on eBay. Why? Because he had a mindset that said, if money stops flowing one way, I'll find another. And you know what? That little side hustle paid the mortgage for 6 months. That's the Jewish secret. Not magic. Not privilege. Not luck. Resilience. Adaptability. Mindset. So if you're watching this right now and feeling like you're behind, or scared, or unsure of the future, let me tell you something from my heart. It's okay. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know everything. You just have to be willing to learn. And the best time to start building that mindset, before the next crisis, because it will come. Crises always do. But if you plant now, if you prepare now, you'll be one of those people that others point to and say, how did they make it through? And maybe you'll smile and say, I just remembered an old Jewish secret. If you liked this, let me know. I've got more to share. We didn't even touch on how Jewish education builds wealth across generations, or how ancient agricultural laws created economic balance, or how Jewish calendars literally program in economic resets. So if you want more, I'll make another video. Just say the word. Until then, don't panic. Plant, prepare, and remember, money is a tool. You are the builder.